we are going to talk about the grind. And the grind being that, if you intend to get into gymnastics and parkour, really any acro sport as far as that's concerned, trampoline or power tumbling, whatever, there are some foundational principles that you need to be aware of so that you can have some realistic expectations for your progress. I think realistic expectations are good. And, this being our first real topical episode where we don't just introduce ourselves and talk about ourselves, I think that it's best that we go through that and we start at the very beginning. And so how most sports work is when you're learning a mainstream American sport, whether it be baseball, basketball, football, all of that, you tend to have a very brief practice period. So it normally goes like this. I'll take baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport. Even though I've made a living doing gymnastics, baseball is my favorite sport. And so generally the way that it works is, hey, Mom wants to sign you up for baseball. So you go to the Boys and Girls Club, wherever they're doing baseball. You get like 3 practices in. You barely learn not to pick the daisies in the outfield, to stop eating the infield dirt, all of that. And then bang, you're right in the middle of a game that matters, that counts. And so with gymnastics, that's not the way that it works at all. There's definitely a much more methodical, approach to being in, what would be considered competition. And so this is how it normally works in gymnastics. So first off, and I hear this story all the time, you're driving your mom crazy. That is how you get in an acro sport. You're flipping all through the house. You're doing cartwheels down the soup aisle at Walmart, whatever. You're driving her crazy. And she's got to find some sort of, outlet for you to have to get rid of this energy. So she enrolls you in some sort of beginner class, whether it be acro, whether it be parkour, whether it be gymnastics, all of those things. You go for a few months, and then eventually, once you've been there a little while, you get good enough to catch somebody's eye who's running the class or whatever. Each gym is different. So then they decide, hey, I want to train you. They put you in some sort of accelerated class, and then even then, it can still be months or even years from that point forward before you make it into a competition setting. In gymnastics, we call it meets, parkour jams, whatever, any sort of acro thing like that. It can be years and years and years, and so it really is a grind from the time that you start. There's not that instant gratification, and it's best to know that in advance, that you will be doing the same skill over and over and over, and until you kind of perfect it. And it takes drive and commitment to be in this sport, and I think that that's a good jumping off point for this podcast, is that you've got to be aware of what you're getting into.